Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an age where men and women have become addicted to sharing. Every triumph, every failure, every seed of an idea is broadcasted to the world without pause, without thought, without strategy. But I stand before you today to tell you one truth that few dare to speak. You must stop sharing your life. There is no strength in exposure. The more you unveil, the more you surrender your power. Privacy is not secrecy, it is self-respect. The river does not announce its course, yet it cuts through mountains. The seed does not shout its purpose, yet it grows into a mighty tree, and you must learn to build in silence. When you share your goals too soon, you invite the opinions of the small-minded. When you broadcast your pain, you open the door to the vultures who feast on weakness. When you parade your victories, you awaken the sleeping envy of those who wish to see you fall. The most dangerous enemies are not always the loud ones. Sometimes it is the silent watchers who study your every move, waiting for the moment you expose too much. Great men do not seek permission, they do not chase validation. They understand that silence is not a void, it is a fortress. In silence there is strategy. In privacy there is momentum. The world has taught you to speak, but no one has taught you the priceless value of withholding. Speak less, move more, build quietly. You do not owe the world an explanation. You do not owe the crowd your blueprints. You owe yourself the discipline to focus, the courage to endure, and the wisdom to guard your life from the unnecessary eyes. Stop sharing your life, not because you fear the world, but because you respect your path. Because you know some battles are won best when fought in silence. Some victories are savored best when achieved without applause. The man who moves quietly moves with precision, and precision builds empires. Privacy is power. This simple truth escapes most people because they have been conditioned to believe that openness is strength, that vulnerability is noble, and that constant sharing is a sign of authenticity. But this is a carefully woven illusion. The man who controls what he reveals controls his destiny. The less you reveal, the stronger you become, because what is unseen cannot be attacked, cannot be envied, cannot be manipulated. There is an unmatched force in keeping your life private, in mastering the discipline of silence, in holding your plans and emotions close to your chest. When you broadcast your life, you are opening the doors of your soul to the winds of other people's opinions, expectations, and judgments. You are no longer the master of your own ship. You are handing over the wheel to a crowd that neither understands your journey nor truly cares for your success. When you speak too freely about your ambitions, you dilute their potency. Words are powerful, but words given too soon become weak. They lose their energy because they are spent on ears that neither deserve nor value them. A man's strength lies in what he withholds. To hold something sacred is to protect its energy, to guard its potential, and to give it space to grow without interference. Growth is a private act. The roots of a tree push deep into the earth long before a single branch rises into the sky. The foundation is always laid in silence. There is a dangerous habit of seeking instant approval. It is tempting to share your next step, your next dream, your next battle, hoping that the world will applaud you, validate you, and fuel your journey with its praise. But this is a trap. Approval is a drug that weakens the soul. When you depend on the claps of others, you forfeit your own inner authority. You become a slave to external validation. A man who constantly seeks the approval of others becomes an easy target for manipulation. He begins to craft his life not according to his own vision, but according to the tastes of the crowd. He no longer moves with discipline. He dances to the tune of public opinion. There is extraordinary power in becoming unknown. When people do not know what you are doing, they cannot prepare a resistance against you. When people do not know your next move, they cannot sabotage it. Silence protects you. Silence sharpens your mind. It allows you to move like a shadow, undetected, focused, and precise. A man who learns to cultivate privacy becomes dangerous in the best possible way, because he is immune to distractions. He is not broadcasting his intentions for the sake of attention. He is not leaking his energy through meaningless conversations. He is not wasting his fire on those who would rather watch him burn than see him rise. Every time you speak about your life to the wrong ears, you are giving away pieces of your power. You are giving away pieces of your focus, and slowly, without realizing, you are scattering your energy across conversations, platforms, and people who neither contribute to your growth nor understand the depth of your mission. Power requires concentration. Power demands discipline, and nothing disperses power faster than the reckless sharing of your life. When you walk in silence, you allow your results to speak. There is no need to tell people what you are building when they can see the empire rising behind you. There is no need to explain your growth when your actions are undeniable. Silence teaches patience. Silence teaches endurance. In the quiet hours where no one is watching, the real battles are fought. In the lonely moments where applause is absent, the seeds of greatness are planted, and those who win in life are the ones who can persist through these silent seasons without the need for validation. Privacy does not mean isolation. It means selective sharing. It means guarding your treasures, your thoughts, your plans, and sharing them only with those who have earned the right to hear them. Not everyone deserves access. Not everyone deserves to know the workings of your mind. Your life is a fortress. Your thoughts are the architects of that fortress, and if you allow strangers to walk in and out of your mind, you are weakening your own walls. People often misunderstand strength. They think the loudest man in the room is the most powerful, but true strength is quiet. True strength does not need to announce itself. The mountain does not boast, but it stands firm. The ocean does not brag, but its depth commands respect. Likewise, the man who builds in silence is often the man who cannot be moved. When you speak less, you hear more. When you guard your words, you sharpen your focus. When you resist the urge to share everything, you keep your energy aligned with your goals. There is great wisdom in moving with intentional silence. Silence does not mean passivity. Silence is strategic. Silence allows you to observe, to plan, to outmaneuver those who speak carelessly. In silence, you conserve energy that others waste on self-exposure. Sharing too much invites unnecessary competition. When you reveal your dreams prematurely, you awaken the competitive instincts in others. You inspire them not to help you but to beat you, and suddenly you are no longer moving at your own pace. You are racing against people you should have never alerted in the first place. Some battles are created simply because you spoke too soon. Some obstacles would never exist if you had kept your plans to yourself. Your life is your responsibility, and part of that responsibility is learning what to protect. It is not cowardice to be private. It is wisdom. It is not weakness to move in silence. It is discipline. There is power in letting people see only the finished product and never the process. There is power in surprising the world with the outcome instead of announcing the blueprint. The man who has mastered the art of privacy has mastered self-control, and self-control is the foundation of all success. The temptation to share is strong, especially when you are excited, especially when you want to feel seen. But understand this: the more you share, the more you dilute your inner fire. The more you talk, the more you divide your focus. What you speak of too soon often loses its magic. It is not because your dreams are weak, but because the energy that should be reserved for building is spent on explaining. There is no rule that says you must tell the world what you are doing. There is no law that demands you reveal your next step. Silence is a strategy. Privacy is a tool. It is a weapon used by those who understand that the greatest power is often the power that moves unseen. The loud drum may capture attention, but it is the silent hammer that builds the house. And when you build quietly, no one can break what they do not know exists. The less you reveal, the less you give people to attack. The less you share, the fewer distractions you invite. You are not obligated to narrate your journey to anyone. You are not required to report your growth. Your life is yours to protect, to nurture, to build with focus and precision. Let your life be a mystery. Let your actions be your only explanation. The man who reveals little holds much. The man who speaks little builds greatly. Privacy is not about hiding, it is about preserving. It is about moving in strength without the need for spectacle. There is power in walking your path without broadcasting it. There is power in building without explaining. There is power in being known for your results, not for your announcements. And the man who understands this will always move farther, faster, and with greater peace than the man who cannot resist the urge to share. Privacy sharpens, privacy fortifies, privacy is power, and those who learn to protect their power will never need to beg for the respect of the world. They will have already commanded it through their silent, disciplined, and deliberate life. Not everyone deserves access. This is a truth that many fail to grasp in their eagerness to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood. In life, there is a sacred responsibility to guard not only your words, but also your energy, your vision, your struggles, and your victories. It is easy to fall into the habit of believing that the people around you should know everything about you, that sharing your story openly is always a sign of courage, but wisdom teaches otherwise. Your life is not a public park where anyone can wander in and leave their footprints. Your life is a fortress, and only those who have earned the right to enter should be granted access. There are people who appear to be allies, but are merely curious observers. There are those who smile in your face, but quietly wait for you to stumble. There are those who do not wish you harm, but they carry the weight of their own limitations, and will project those limitations onto you the moment you share your aspirations. When you open your life to the wrong people, you are inviting not only their opinions, but also their energy into your space. Energy is invisible but powerful. Some will drain you with doubt. Some will distract you with their fears. Some will derail you with advice that has no place on your path. And all of this happens because you gave them access they never deserved. To guard your life is to practice discernment. Discernment is the ability to recognize who is worthy and who is not, who is aligned with your growth and who is simply taking up space. Not every friend is a confidant. Not every listener is trustworthy. Not every companion is a true supporter. It is a mistake to confuse proximity with loyalty, or interest with good intentions. Some people are near you simply because they are curious. Curiosity is not commitment. Curiosity does not guarantee support. Curiosity does not deserve your inner story. When you share your life with everyone, you make yourself vulnerable to unnecessary attacks. You invite criticism from those who have never built anything. You open the door to envy from those who cannot imagine the success you are working toward. You allow the seeds of doubt to be planted by those who speak from their own fears, not from wisdom. Not everyone who listens deserves to know. Not everyone who asks deserves to receive. Your silence is not a punishment, it is a shield. It is a boundary that protects your vision from those who would tear it apart simply because they lack the strength to build their own. In every journey, there will be moments of struggle, moments of uncertainty, moments of doubt. These moments are sacred. They are the times when your character is being forged, when your spirit is being tested. To share these vulnerable moments with the wrong people is to weaken the process. The wrong people will not build you, they will break you. They will not encourage you, they will question you. They will not uplift you, they will weigh you down with their own baggage. The right people are rare. The right people listen to understand, not to judge. They protect what you entrust to them. They do not gossip about your setbacks or broadcast your challenges. They honor the weight of your words. And until you find such people, you must hold your story close. Many speak too soon and to too many. They reveal their plans to those who have no place in them. They seek comfort in exposure, thinking that sharing will ease their burden. But often it does the opposite. It multiplies the burden because now, instead of carrying only your own expectations, you carry the weight of others' eyes, others' opinions, others' judgments. And when you fail, as every person sometimes does, you do not fail in private. You fail under the scrutiny of those who were never meant to witness the process in the first place. Your life is not a public performance. It is not a spectacle for everyone to consume. It is a sacred mission that demands privacy, focus, and ruthless protection. You are not obligated to explain yourself to anyone. You are not required to share your dreams with every smiling face. You are not responsible for satisfying the curiosity of those who do not walk your path. When you truly understand your worth, you will become selective with your words. You will choose carefully who enters your mental space, who touches your vision, who hears your struggles, and who is allowed to stand beside you in the moments of both glory and defeat. Even those with good intentions can cause harm if they are not equipped to understand your journey. A man drowning in his own fears cannot advise you on how to conquer yours. A man trapped in his own limitations cannot guide you toward your freedom. Not everyone is qualified to hear your plans. Not everyone can carry the weight of your truth. Some people are simply not ready to handle the vision you have been given. To offer them access is to cast pearls before swine, to hand precious stones to those who will not know their value. Silence is not about isolation. It is about protecting the purity of your mission from contamination. It is about creating a sacred space where your thoughts, your faith, and your discipline can grow without interference. When you speak less, you give your dreams time to strengthen. You give your ideas time to take root. You give your spirit time to develop the resilience necessary to withstand the storms that will come. The man who understands that not everyone deserves access moves with greater freedom. He is not entangled in unnecessary conversations. He is not burdened by the opinions of people who were never part of his destiny. He is not distracted by the noise of public curiosity. He is focused, deliberate, and precise. He grants access sparingly, wisely, and only to those who prove by their character that they can be trusted. The world is filled with spectators. Some will watch to cheer you on. Some will watch to see you fall. But the one who moves in silence is indifferent to both. He understands that the crowd is temporary, that opinions are fickle, that applause fades quickly. He does not move for approval. He moves for purpose. He does not speak to impress. He speaks to build, and when he speaks, it is to the few who have earned the right to hear. There is no pride in overexposure. There is no wisdom in reckless sharing. The strongest walls protect the most valuable treasures. Your life, your vision, your progress, these are treasures. Treat them as such. Speak to build, not to impress. Share to grow, not to entertain. Protect what matters. Not everyone deserves access. And when you finally understand this, you will walk lighter, move faster, and build stronger than ever before. External validation is a trap. It is one of the most seductive illusions that quietly destroys men and women who have the potential to build extraordinary lives. The desire to be seen, to be applauded, to be told you are enough. This desire can slowly take control of your mind until your every move is built upon the shaky foundation of other people's approval. The need for validation is a hidden chain. It does not rattle loudly like fear or scream like failure, but it pulls you back just as powerfully. It is the chain that keeps you dancing for the crowd instead of building for yourself. The more you seek validation, the more you hand over your power to others. The more you chase their applause, the more you forfeit your own inner authority. Validation from others can feel like fuel. It can feel like energy. It can feel like momentum, but it is false power. It is borrowed energy. It disappears the moment the crowd turns their eyes away. It vanishes when the applause fades. A man who feeds on external validation will starve in silence. He will falter when no one is watching. He will lose his way when no one is clapping, and life will test you most in these moments of silence. Life will ask you to keep moving when no one is paying attention. Life will ask you to build when no one is cheering. Life will demand that you continue when the validation is gone. And if you have trained your soul to depend on the crowd, you will not last. There is a dangerous addiction that grows when you start chasing external approval. It begins small. It begins with a few words of praise that light a fire in your chest. It feels good. It feels rewarding. And slowly you start adjusting your actions, your words, your pace. not to meet your own standards, but to keep winning the approval of others. You begin to shape your life around the opinions of the crowd. You begin to value their applause more than your own progress. You begin to chase their cheers more than your own growth. And without realizing, you have built a prison with walls made of praise. External validation will always control the man who cannot live without it. It will enslave the one who depends on it. It will dictate what you do, how you think, where you go, and what you build. It will push you to make decisions not based on wisdom, but based on what will please the most people. You will abandon your true desires, you will betray your deeper vision, you will compromise your mission just to keep the crowd happy, and the truth is, the crowd does not care, the crowd will move on. The crowd will cheer for someone else tomorrow. The validation you fought so hard to earn will dissolve like smoke. Real power is quiet. Real power is built when you are indifferent to the cheers and unmoved by the criticism. It is built when you no longer need the outside world to tell you whether you are good enough, strong enough, or worthy enough. The man who does not need validation cannot be controlled. He is free. He moves according to his own compass. He speaks what is true, not what is popular. He builds what matters, not what impresses. He is dangerous in the best way because he cannot be manipulated with applause or silenced with disapproval. The man who lives for external validation will always be exhausted. He will spend his life trying to please people who do not walk his path, people who do not understand his mission, people whose standards shift like the wind. He will sacrifice his peace just to protect his image. He will lose himself trying to keep up with the expectations of others, and in the end, he will look back and realize he built his life in the image of strangers, not in the image of his own deepest calling. There is no lasting strength in the applause of the world. It comes quickly, it fades quickly, and it never stays, but the strength that is built from within, the strength that comes from self-respect, self-approval, self-discipline, that strength cannot be taken. It does not disappear when people walk away. It does not collapse when people stop clapping. It does not crumble when you face opposition. It grows, it sharpens, it hardens into unshakable confidence. You must build the habit of standing alone. You must learn to build quietly without asking for permission, without waiting for congratulations, without begging for support. You must develop the discipline to move forward when no one is watching, and the strength to continue when no one is applauding. External validation is temporary. It will lift you only for a moment. But the power that comes from your own conviction, from your own relentless pursuit, will carry you for a lifetime. When you build for the crowd, you will eventually lose yourself. When you build for yourself, you will eventually find freedom. The man who seeks constant validation will always remain a servant to the expectations of others. He will always be adjusting, always be chasing, always be unsettled. But the man who breaks free from that need becomes untouchable. His focus becomes unbreakable, his work becomes undeniable, his success becomes inevitable, not because the world approved, but because he moved with discipline regardless of their approval. You must learn to trust yourself more than you trust the crowd. The crowd is inconsistent. The crowd is shallow. The crowd loves to watch, but seldom understands the price you pay behind closed doors. The work that matters most is often done in silence. It is often misunderstood. It is often unseen, but it is in those quiet moments that you either build your future or sell it for the fleeting comfort of approval. Do not let external validation decide your pace. Do not let it dictate your direction. Do not let it shape your life. The man who is dependent on being liked will forever be a prisoner to the moods of others. You must become the kind of man who can walk alone with confidence, the kind of man who does not flinch when ignored, the kind of man who does not break when criticized. You must become solid in your mission, immovable in your standards, and ruthless in your self-discipline. It is a painful truth that many never learn. The people you try the hardest to impress are often the ones who contribute the least to your growth. They will watch you, they will judge you, they will weigh you, but they will not help you carry the burden. They will not stay for the nights when you are tired, when you are doubtful, when you are worn out from the fight. The man who depends on their approval will be left empty when their attention fades. But the man who builds from within will always have a steady fire, a quiet power, a deep reserve of strength that does not waver. You cannot allow your worth to rise and fall on the applause of others. You cannot hand over your peace to the crowd. You cannot let the opinions of the world shape the man you are becoming. The crowd will not save you. Their approval will not sustain you. Their cheers will not build your future. You must build your own fire. You must sustain your own momentum. You must become your own validation. When you finally release the need to be validated by others, you will move faster, you will work harder, and you will rise higher. You will no longer hesitate, no longer doubt, no longer shrink yourself to fit the tastes of the world. You will become focused on one thing, your mission, and the man who is focused on his mission, who walks with conviction, who builds in silence, who moves without asking permission, he is the man who cannot be ignored. Oversharing can sabotage progress. There is a silent danger in speaking too much about your plans, your dreams, your struggles, and your private life. Words, when scattered carelessly, lose their power. Energy, when spread too thin, loses its sharpness. Every time you share a piece of your life with someone who has not earned that access, you weaken the very foundation you are trying to build. There is a seductive pull to talk, to explain, to defend, to broadcast your journey as if speaking about success will bring it closer, but it does the opposite. Oversharing invites the wrong eyes, the wrong words, the wrong energy, and the wrong influence into the sacred space where your growth is supposed to happen undisturbed. When you speak of your plans too soon, you give others a chance to inject their doubts into them. You give them the opportunity to plant seeds of hesitation, to question your ambition, to steer you off course. And even if they speak from a place of affection, their words can still dilute your focus. Progress is fragile in its early stages. It needs privacy to strengthen, it needs silence to mature, and it needs protection to survive. Every word you speak about what you are building creates an opening for interference. Not all interference is loud or obvious. Sometimes it arrives as subtle discouragement, as unintended criticism, as misplaced concern that wraps itself in love but carries the weight of fear. You cannot afford to give your focus away to people who do not carry the burden with you. There is a discipline in moving silently. There is power in keeping your next move to yourself. The more you talk, the more you spread your mental energy into the opinions and reactions of others. You become tied to their expectations, their responses, their approval, their disapproval. And slowly, without realizing it, you start building not for yourself, but for them. You start adjusting your pace, your direction, your goals based on how they perceive you. You begin to lose the purity of your own vision. Progress is not a show. It is not a performance to be narrated step by step for the entertainment or approval of others. It is a quiet, steady process that demands focus, repetition, sacrifice, and sometimes isolation. You must resist the urge to document every step, to explain every decision, to justify every move. The people who truly matter do not need constant updates, and the people who demand updates often do not matter. When you speak less, you think more. When you think more, you refine your plan. When your plan is refined, your execution becomes sharper, and when your execution becomes sharper, your progress accelerates. But when you speak too soon, you waste mental fuel on explaining yourself to people who neither understand your path nor share your burden. You waste valuable time in conversations that add nothing to your growth. You invite unnecessary noise into your mind, and that noise can slowly erode your discipline. Oversharing also invites judgment. Not all judgment is malicious, but it is almost always a distraction. When you make your life an open book, people will read it. They will interpret it, they will rewrite it in their own minds, they will project their limitations onto your story, they will take your setbacks and label them as failure, they will take your silence and label it as weakness. And if you are not careful, you will start believing their labels, you will start carrying the weight of their narratives, you will start editing your life to please their assumptions, and in doing so, you will drift further away from the man you were meant to become. The most dangerous part of oversharing is that it tricks you into thinking you are progressing just because you are talking about progress. Talking feels like doing. It gives the illusion of movement. But speaking about your goals is not the same as working toward them. It is a cheap substitute. It can satisfy your need for significance without demanding the sacrifice that real progress requires. You can feel accomplished just by explaining your plan to someone else, even though no action has been taken. Words can deceive you into thinking you are building when you are simply describing, and in that trap many men remain stuck for years. Talking, explaining, describing, but never building. Silence is not secrecy. Silence is focus. It is the discipline to protect what is sacred until it is strong enough to stand on its own. You are not obligated to announce every move. You are not responsible for feeding the curiosity of the world. You do not need to decorate your journey with constant commentary. Your work will speak when it is ready. Your results will announce themselves in due time. Until then, your job is to build quietly, consistently, and without distraction. There is a sharp difference between sharing to inspire and sharing to impress. When you share to inspire, you speak from a place of fullness. You have built something, you have walked the path, you have earned the wisdom. But when you share to impress, you are often speaking from a place of insecurity. You are seeking validation, you are asking for approval, you are trying to fill a void with external praise. The man who overshares is often chasing significance, trying to feel important through the attention of others. But significance built on attention is always temporary. It fades as quickly as it comes. You must build a fortress around your focus. Every conversation you allow into your life is either strengthening your walls or weakening them. Every piece of information you release is either securing your foundation or exposing it to outside influence. When you guard your plans, you give them time to mature. When you guard your progress, you give it space to solidify. When you guard your life, you move with a power that cannot be easily shaken. Oversharing also invites comparison. When you speak too much about what you are building, you open the door for others to compare your pace, your style, your success to theirs. You may find yourself entangled in a race that was never yours to run. You may start measuring your progress against timelines that do not belong to you, and that comparison can kill your focus. It can push you to rush. It can tempt you to abandon your own pace just to keep up with the pace of others. But a race built on comparison is a race toward exhaustion, not excellence. The man who moves quietly is not worried about the timeline of others. He is not concerned with impressing the crowd. He is focused on doing the work, on sharpening his discipline, on building something that can endure. He is not tempted by applause because he has learned that the applause of today can turn into the silence of tomorrow, and his progress is not tied to being seen. It is tied to being finished. He does not speak to update the world. He speaks when his work is ready to speak for him. Progress demands privacy. Growth requires protection. Silence is a weapon, a shield, a discipline that many overlook. The man who guards his life, who limits access, who controls his words, he becomes untouchable. His movements are not easily predicted. His plans are not easily derailed. His strength is not easily diluted. He moves in power because he moves in privacy. He does not give his life away piece by piece to anyone who asks. He builds, he sharpens, he rises, and when his work is ready, the world will see what silence was protecting all along. Privacy strengthens power. A man who guards his life, his thoughts, his ambitions, and his struggles possesses a power that most will never understand. Privacy is not weakness. Privacy is not fear. Privacy is a deliberate decision to protect the energy, the focus, and the vision required to build something meaningful. When you move in silence, you collect your strength. When you guard your life, you sharpen your edge. When you protect your journey from unnecessary eyes, you build a foundation that cannot be easily shaken. There is a discipline in keeping certain matters to yourself. Your life does not need to be a public spectacle. Your every move does not need an audience. When you keep things private, you give yourself room to fail without judgment, room to grow without interference, room to rebuild without explanation. The private man is not hiding, he is preserving. He is preserving his clarity, his direction, his peace. The more people know about your life, the more they feel entitled to direct it. The more details you give away, the more permission you unknowingly hand over for others to shape your story. Privacy gives you control. It allows you to move without being predicted, to build without being interrupted, to think without being influenced. When your life is open to the world, your energy is constantly pulled in different directions. You begin to carry the weight of other people's opinions, expectations, and judgments. You start adjusting your pace to please the observers. You start filtering your progress to fit the narrative others have built around you. And soon, your life is no longer yours. It is a product of public consumption, not a product of private discipline. A private life is a life of power. It is where the real work happens, the real battles are fought, the real victories are earned. The most dangerous man is the one who moves without making noise. He builds quietly, he struggles quietly, he plans quietly, he does not seek applause, he does not require acknowledgement, he does not ask for validation. His reward is not the recognition of others. His reward is the completion of the mission itself. There is a certain kind of strength that comes when you do not need to broadcast your every step. It is the strength of self-trust. It is the strength of knowing that you are enough, even if no one else knows what you are building. It is the strength of holding your vision close to your chest, protecting it like a flame that must not be exposed to the wind too soon. A vision that is constantly exposed loses its power. It becomes fragile under the weight of other people's doubts and opinions. It becomes scattered when it is passed from conversation to conversation. Privacy allows you to focus on what matters. It sharpens your attention. It eliminates distractions. It gives you the space to fail in peace, to refine your process, to correct your mistakes without the noise of the outside world pressing in. When you build privately, you protect yourself from the unnecessary opinions of spectators who have never paid the price to understand your journey. Their words carry no weight, but if you are not careful, their voices can still pierce your focus. The private man is free. He is free from the expectations of the crowd. He is free from the burden of constant explanation. He is free to move according to his own plan without the need to satisfy the curiosity of others. Privacy is not isolation. It is not the rejection of all connection. It is the careful selection of who earns access to your life. It is the wise choice to share your deepest plans, your hardest struggles, and your sharpest lessons only with those who have proven they can carry that responsibility with honor. When you make your life a stage, you become a performer. You begin to act for the approval of others, not for the fulfillment of your purpose. You begin to crave the attention, the applause, the validation, and soon you build your life in service to the crowd, not in service to your own mission. But when you choose privacy, you step off the stage. You return to the discipline of the work itself. You become immune to the pressure of pleasing the world because the world no longer has front-row seats to your life. Privacy teaches patience. It teaches you to wait until your work is ready before you reveal it. It teaches you to trust the slow process of growth. When you build in private, you are not tempted to rush just to show others quick results. You can take your time. You can move at the pace that is right for you. You are no longer racing against the timelines of the world because you have removed the world from your timeline. There is also safety in privacy. When you expose your every move, you expose your weaknesses, your unfinished plans, your vulnerable moments. You invite interference. You give people the blueprint to your life, and not everyone who listens is there to support you. Some watch only to find the cracks, some wait only to see you stumble. The man who moves privately denies them that opportunity. He builds quietly, so his success cannot be delayed by those who wish to see him fail. You must develop the courage to be misunderstood. You must accept that when you stop sharing your life, people will invent their own stories about you. They will guess, they will assume, they will create their own version of your path. Let them, their guesses do not deserve your energy. Your responsibility is to build, not to explain. You do not need to correct every misunderstanding. You do not need to fight every false story. You do not need to constantly clarify who you are and what you are doing. Let your results speak. Let your work speak. Let your discipline speak. That is all the explanation you ever need. Privacy is not just about withholding information. It is about where you direct your energy. Every conversation you avoid is energy you protect. Every explanation you refuse to give is focus you reclaim. Every time you resist the urge to broadcast your life, you strengthen your position. The less you say, the less you reveal, the less you need to defend. The less you need to defend, the more you can build. The more you can build, the stronger you become. A private life is a controlled life. It is a life where you decide who has access, who has influence, who has a seat at your table. It is not a life of loneliness. It is a life of intentional connection. You must choose carefully who you trust with your story, who you invite into your inner circle, who you allow to speak into your life. And you must be willing to walk alone if necessary to protect your mission. When you move in silence, you develop inner strength. You no longer need the motivation that comes from being seen. You no longer need the attention that comes from being noticed. You no longer need the praise that comes from being validated. Your momentum comes from within. Your drive comes from within. Your discipline comes from within. And that is the kind of power that cannot be taken, cannot be bought, cannot be borrowed. It must be built, and it is best built in private. Privacy strengthens power because it sharpens your focus, preserves your energy, protects your mission, and shields you from unnecessary interference. It is a silent strategy that separates the man who builds for himself from the man who performs for others. It is a discipline that demands patience, courage, and clarity. And it is a habit that will elevate the man who has the strength to practice it.